Real quick video today, guys. We're working on this Coleman mini bike. It's a BT200X. What's happened is one of the bearings on the rear tire went bad. Well, we figured this out by a chain kept coming off, and the last time I put it on, I realized that on one side of the tire there was a bunch of space in between the shaft and the hole here. So I'm gonna at least replace this side. The other side looks good, so I don't think I'm gonna mess with it. I'll show you how to pop this out and put a new one in. I ordered new bearings off of Amazon. I got like a pack of 4. I'll put a link in the description for those. We got ours in 2023, beginning of this year. And I think what's played a big part in making the bearing go bad so quick was exceeding the weight capacity. I think the weight capacity on these are 200, and there's a few times they've been probably carrying about 220 to 250, and those bearings are pretty small, so they don't last when you do that. So we're gonna be replacing that real quick, show you how to do that. So I'm gonna have to take this gear off, pop that out, put a new bearing in, and then assemble this back together. The issue you're gonna have is the outside of this bearing race that's still in here is about even with the inside of this shaft here, so it's just a tiny lip. So I got to figure out a way to get this bearing race out without destroying my surface. All right, based on how fast this bearing went out this time, I anticipate that I'm gonna have to replace this bearing often. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take this grinding wheel here and go in here and relieve a little bit of that housing behind this bearing, so I can slip something in and get behind this bearing and pop it out on two opposite sides. All right, I have one of these hardened push pin that I'm gonna slip in from the back, and I think I got a big enough ledge now I can smack this and knock this out. I think I need more of a lip yet. I got a little stiffer punch, just a straight punch. Try to knock this out. I think the other one was giving too much. So now I'm just holding it against there because it's about not long enough. And then just tapping it from the other side. I think it's starting to come out. Part of my bearing's also coming out that was stuck in there. Pieces that came apart when the bearing went bad. It is starting to come up out. Got a little space behind there, so I just got to keep working back and forth from one side to the other, tapping it out. Once I get this bearing out, then I'm going to make a better relief back there once I see how thick that wall is. So the next time, it'll be a lot quicker. There we go, there's the bearing race. And I still saved this bearing here. So I got quite a bit of thickness on that wall, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in those areas where I had ground a little bit, and I'm going to actually relieve that even more, so that when that bearing sits against this back wall, I can just come in with a punch and easily smack it out. So I'm going to take this bit here and grind some relief here, so that when I put the new bearing in, if I need to pop it out, I can easily pop it out without slipping off of it like I did this time. Because I know how these things work, I'll be doing this again. Alright, as you see, I left just a little bit of the rim right here, but I made a relief here so that I can get my punch on the back of the bearing next time. Did that on both sides. Alright, like I said, I got these bearings off Amazon. I'll post these in the description. So this spacer goes in between your bearings so that you don't, when you tighten your wheel up on the back of your mini bike, it doesn't smash your bearings in. So I'm going to put the shaft that holds the wheel on in between here to keep everything lined up while I put this bearing in. When I get the bearing in, then it'll probably snug that spacer up and it won't move around. So you can either use something like a piece of PVC pipe that fits the outside diameter of this bearing, or like this is a bike peg laying around, that would probably work. I'm personally going to probably use these. These are like seal installers. This is a nice kit I bought recently off Amazon, and it served me pretty well in several situations recently. You actually can build up what you need to fit around there and to fit the right diameter, so I'm going to do that. Already started here. This is the outside diameter of this bearing. You don't want to push on the inside, it'll break it. So I set those right over there, and then I just come up with the right set of kind of like Legos or something like that. Build the right set of give me enough height, and then cap it off at the back here, and now I can just smack that into place. Works very nice. I'll put a link in the description for these in case you're interested. Alright, now we should be ready to reassemble this mini bike. Tell you what, these little adapters here, I have 3/8, ½ inch, and 1/4 inch, which I use on my driver here. This is a 10mm socket that goes on these. These adapters are sweet, really nice to have. They're pretty cheap, came in a set. I'll put a link in the description for those too. These bearings came in a 4-pack, so I might have extras for the next time this happens. These spacers go inside, I believe. They go in between your frame and the tire. So you have to get them in when you're putting the shaft in. Same on the other side. Just like that. Now, to get your tightening mechanism in place. So before I go crazy tightening this, I'm going to go ahead and get my guard back on. I had to take this guard off because when the chain came off, when the bearing went out, couldn't get all this apart. So I'm going to put this back together so it's in place. Alright, we got to get this brake assembly all back together correctly. Spring, I think, goes on first, and it slides through this little piece here. It goes in here, there's a hole like that, and then here goes on, and it keeps pressure on this, and that's what keeps this little nut from turning. And then this bolt goes back through like the outside like this, or from the inside I should say, Then a washer goes on here. Then this nut goes on here. This keeps the whole brake assembly from moving, so it actually brakes when your wheel needs to brake. And then we have a little cotter pin that keeps that from loosening up, because you don't want your brakes not to work. I'm gonna adjust my cotter pin a little bit. It's basically just a glorified wire. Gonna put this cotter pin in here. I'm actually going to take my bolt back out and turn it, because you can turn it to a different location and it might make this easier to get this cotter pin in. So I'll pop it back and rotate it just a little bit so that my hole is a different direction. There we go. That's better. Now I can get to that hole easier. 14 here. Now I can shove this in easier. So we got it through. I'm gonna open this side up a little bit more so it doesn't slip out. Okay, maybe I'll do that out here. You wanna have a bulb at the end of this just so it doesn't slip through. And then put it back through and bend it so it doesn't come out. Like I said, it's just a glorified wire basically. So now, besides adjusting my brake a little bit maybe, I would say I'm gonna have to adjust it some more. That's why we have wrenches, I guess. Getting there. All right, we got that tightened up fairly well. Don't have a ton of play, so that's good. So now it's just tightening this wheel back up equally so that the wheel's straight. I think I need to loosen this up until I get the wheel tight, because this actually prevents your wheel from going back on this side. So I'm gonna pull this out and crack this loose while I tighten this up. There we go. You don't want it super tight, so that's probably good on this side. The wheel looks pretty straight. Take this back just a little bit more on this side. Okay, now we're ready to tighten this shaft bolt and then tighten this brake back up, and we're good to go. Well, that's how I switched the bearing out on that tire. Seemed like it worked pretty good. So that's how you switch out the bearing on the tire on a B200X Coleman mini bike, trail bike, whatever you want to call it. It's been a pretty fun little bike. The kids have had a lot of fun on it, and it's a pretty simple little deal. Hope you got something out of this video. Till next time, guys, good luck with all your projects.